Welcome back to Social Studies 20-1. This is now Lesson 2. And the first objective with Lesson 2 is to identify the shift from collectivism to individualism. Let's take a look at that. When we look at the document, you can see that it comes up again. So it's the first outcome listed. 1, identify the shift from collectivism to individualism. Then down here, the re-emergence of individualism. And there's an assignment today. Create a chart where you contrast the values of individualism and collectivism. To help you with the assignment, I've identified in green key terms. You'll see these on a multiple choice test. The principles of individualism, and I've contrasted them with the principles of collectivism. Please take note of these. So to an individualist, we like to build a society based on self-reliance. It is the only natural motivation for mankind. This will equate with less government control, less government intervention, freedom from, not freedom through government. We'll see rule of law, and individual rights are seen as natural, universal, and ultimately inalienable. They cannot be taken away. By emphasizing private property, we will encourage people to work harder. This refers to their self-interest, what Adam Smith called the invisible hand, or greed. Economic freedom allows individuals to shape their own economic lives as both workers and consumers, and it is seen that through competition, we can ensure that the most efficient and purposeful use of resources will be made. Ultimately, socially, politically, economically, people are seen as unique, and therefore adhering to collective norms isn't ideal because we're not all the same. In contrast, we had collectivism. Under collectivism, we should adhere to collective norms. It'll create unity. It'll create a common identity that will unite us and provide us purpose and comfort. We should acknowledge we have a collective responsibility not only to each other but to our planet. We have to prioritize that and see our collective interest. And one way to do it is to combine our wealth and hold it as public property. And as doing so, as we'll see with Rousseau, we'll have less conflict, less greed and envy. We should strive for economic equality, as it isn't moral for some to have more or less than others. So we'll combat disparity through economic equality, and there may have to be a redistribution of income through things like progressive taxation. We should encourage cooperation, as there is wisdom in the crowd. And ultimately, collectivism is this idea that we give the group priority over the individual. So that's a simple contrast between the principles of individualism and collectivism. That's the main point of task 1. Here's a quote that further illustrates the conflict between individualism and collectivism. The state determines all that is morally, socially, and materially valuable. Therefore, it has the right and obligation to monopolize all power and all authority, controlling all aspects of society. The state functions as the protector of citizens, providing them with identities, welfare, security, in return for loyalty and obedience. No rights or freedoms should exist apart from the state or from service to the state. Individuals and groups constitute one unified, integral whole, working towards common goals. This is an ideological perspective that reflects collectivism. And it is shown in green because that's the type of A1 source that you could see that you need to unpack and say, okay, what principles of collectivism am I seeing here? In terms of enrichment, we have some examples of why we need individualism, shown through the hypothetical works of Huxley and Orwell, through some contemporary and historical studies in Sweden, in Nazi Germany, and Stalin's USSR, North Korea today, and historically with the Magna Carta and what happened in East Berlin. But we also have some enrichment notes here of why we might need some collectivism. The irrational nature of mankind shown through tulipmania, our Great Depression, the Industrial Revolution, again Sweden, and the credit crisis of 2008-2009, and general instability in the economy. If you're looking for a deeper look into the division between individualism and collectivism, there is a Prezi link there as well. So that is the first outcome of Lesson 2. We want you to be able to understand that historically, in the age of feudalism, it was an age of collectivism. People had a very collective identity. They identified with the village. And as there was an insurgence or a resurgence of Greek individualism, we see challenges that feudal static existence, and we see the resurgence of individualism through that Renaissance thinking of the return of Greek individualism through the Renaissance. And we'll expand on that next.